This is Edwards Air Force Base, home of the world's premier flight test center. And this is also Edwards. 481 square miles of harsh, unforgiving desert, and yet a fragile ecosystem. Both the Air Force Test Center headquarters and the 412th Test Wing call Edwards home. The base has an extensive list of aviation accomplishments that, well, reads like a greatest hits list of worldwide aviation records going back 70 years. Virtually every aircraft in the Air Force inventory has proved itself in the skies above Edwards before it was fielded to the capable hands of the U.S. warfighter. It has often been said that if you want to see the Air Force of tomorrow, just look to the ramps of Edwards today. The driving force that built this legacy is the world-class test force, more than 10,000 people strong, from active duty military members to civilians and contractors. The base and its workers inject an estimated $1.6 billion a year into the local economy. A recent addition to this legacy is the operation of Air Force Plant 42 in nearby Palmdale, California, which now falls under the umbrella of the 412th Test Wing. Plant 42 is an Air Force-owned industrial plant that provides facilities, infrastructure, and all the services needed to assist military contractors to develop, produce, test, and maintain state-of-the-art weapon systems in direct support of the warfighter. Edwards is located near the western edge of the Mojave Desert. It is a land of coyotes and jackrabbits, of gnarled mesquite and Joshua trees. It is a stark land of stunning contrast, of griddle-hot days and bone-chilling nights, of violent storms and mesmerizing sunsets. It is also a land that seems almost custom-made for testing aircraft. At the heart of the base lies Rogers Dry Lake, 44 miles of flat, dense, sandy clay. Nature makes the surface smooth and the sun bakes it hard. That makes it a perfect place for landing aircraft. It's a giant safety net for test pilots who sometimes push aircraft to their limits and may need a close, safe place to land in a hurry. The dry climate also makes for great flying weather, up to 360 days a year. Those two factors alone make Edwards a natural choice for flight test. But the use of these natural assets come with a responsibility to protect and preserve them. The desert requires us to pay special attention, which begins when people arrive at the base for the first time. Base biologists teach new residents and employees about this hostile yet fragile environment and the wildlife that live here. They focus on coyotes, bobcats, snakes, birds, sensitive plants, and the federally protected desert tortoise. Workers learn that part of our mission is protecting these natural resources to ensure we'll be able to continue our critically important mission of flight test. But it's not just the animals and plants that need to be protected. There are also many historical, prehistorical, and even geological sites that must be safeguarded as well. Archaeologists here manage more than 3,500 historical sites on base, some dating back to many thousands of years ago. Water is a scarce yet critical resource in the desert, and Edwards has been working hard at conserving water for decades. In 1996, forward-thinking base officials completed a state-of-the-art wastewater treatment plant. This treatment plant is capable of cleaning wastewater to near drinkable quality. Of course, the reclaimed water isn't used for drinking. Instead, it is used to water common use areas, such as the golf course, play parks, and the various sports and recreational fields on base. During its initial startup phase, the plant processed around 300 million gallons a year. Now, due to current conservation efforts, the base has reduced this to around 111 million gallons a year. One effort that has really helped drop water use has been the elimination of most of the grassy areas on base. In base housing and other high-use areas, grass has been replaced with xeriscaping, and some low-use areas have been returned to the desert. Through these efforts, Edwards has reduced its potable water use from 2,945 acre-feet a year in 2007 to just 1,433 acre-feet in 2015. That's a 51% reduction. The conservation of water is only part of it. We're also taking steps to reduce our draw on the power grid. Most work areas have a policy of turning off lights and equipment when not in use, and keeping rooms just a little cooler in the winter and a bit warmer in the summer. The base uses a system called the Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System, or SCADA, to maximize efficiency of heating and air conditioning systems. Several large facilities have installed systems that freeze large volumes of water at night when demand for cooling is down and electricity rates are lower. Then, during the day, the air conditioning flows across this ice to cool the buildings. Many older buildings have had their roofs covered with white membranes to reduce absorption of thermal energy from the desert sun. And newer facilities have been built with enough energy-saving features to meet the requirements for a Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design Silver Standard. These small steps, when combined, have had a significant effect on our energy use. Since 2003, the base has cut its energy use by 197 billion BTUs annually. That's equivalent to the energy used by 2,200 homes each year. Additionally, the Air Force has agreed to invest in upgrading our facility lighting to new, efficient LED systems. Once complete, these systems will save an estimated 15 million kilowatt hours per year, which is enough to power more than 1,386 average homes. Saving energy is good, but Edwards isn't stopping there. Producing renewable energy plays a part as well. 2012 saw the completion of 3 1-megawatt solar farms on the installation, each on nearly 8 acres of land. And here in the Mojave Desert, sunlight is plentiful. In 2015, these farms captured enough energy to power 595 homes and sent it into the power grid. Edwards is also pursuing plans to grant a lease for a large solar farm on a parcel of land in its northwest corner. This farm will generate as much as 400 megawatts. That will be enough power to supply 78,000 homes. It's scheduled to be completed as early as 2019. During the early history of Edwards, just as with other industrial facilities around America, people were much less aware of the harm done when fuels, oils, or solvents were spilled into the environment. From the 1950s through the 1980s, those spills went uninvestigated. Since the early 90s, the Edwards Environmental Restoration Program has worked to locate these spill sites and clean them up. To date, 472 contaminated sites have been identified, and 317 of those have been cleaned and declared safe for unlimited use. The program has spent $210 million so far and will spend an estimated $300 million to clean up the remaining sites. Various construction projects on the installation, such as replacing the 15,000-foot main runway, have left the base with hundreds of thousands of tons of broken concrete. Initial estimates show that it would take more than 10,000 truckloads to remove it all at a cost of more than $50 million. Instead, the crushed concrete will be used to cover a number of environmental restoration sites. This will keep desert wildlife from being exposed to contamination in the soil. One such use will remediate 2 old abandoned skeet shooting ranges. The concrete will be broken into a variety of sizes and spread across the ranges to cover them. Used the right way, the concrete will provide habitat for a variety of critters. At the same time, it breaks the potential pathway of lead shot to possible receptors, such as graveling birds and other small animals. On other sites, the concrete will be used as riprap to help reduce soil erosion and for fill material in areas where it's needed. Of course, the best way to ensure a clean environment is to prevent contamination in the first place. Some of the first actions Edwards took to be sure to stop future spills from happening was to look for other ways of accomplishing the mission without harmful chemicals, to design systems with better spill containment, to train workers how to quickly manage small spills, and to launch a pharmacy system that dispenses just the right amount of a needed solvent or other chemical, which keeps leftover chemicals out of the waste stream. After all, minimizing this waste stream is one of our primary goals. Another way the base keeps everyday materials out of another waste stream is through an active recycling program. The base diverts 20 to 30% of its solid waste stream through recycling, which returns money to the base through the sale of recyclables and keeps that material out of the base's landfill. Because Edwards contains so many different plant, wildlife, and geological resources, from large dry lake beds that act as a safety net for test pilots, to the smaller playas and clay pans, from desert tortoise critical habitat, or an oasis-like Paiute ponds, to rare wind-shaped yardangs beyond Rogers Dry Lake's northeastern shore. We protect these resources. We also study them and partner with other agencies and academia to study them. We've hosted a number of environmental research projects over the years, and we've learned critical information about the effective management of the desert ecosystem through those efforts. From the results of this research, the Air Force receives valuable information about effective management of our desert ecosystem. Edwards has long been the leader of flight test, and decades of effective management, hard work, and innovation have proven we are a good neighbor and a leader in protecting the environment. We continue to effectively manage our precious, limited, shared resources, to save water and power, to harness alternative energy, to clean up past mistakes, to actively and effectively oversee our stewardships. Our efforts to reduce, reuse, repurpose, and recycle through our daily operations are all part of protecting and preserving the great Mojave Desert that we call home. Edwards is the premier flight test facility in the world. It has no peer. Its continued mission is critical to ensure the United States can continue to fly, fight, and win against any enemy at any time. Its commitment to the environment will help ensure the base will effectively man that position today and tomorrow.